Let's take a look at the iPad's virtual keyboard. The look of the keyboard changes depending on the iPad's orientation. Launch the Notes app and start the keyboard simply by tapping in the note. In portrait orientation, when the iPad is long ways up, the keyboard takes up about a quarter of the screen and the keys are on the small side. Rotate the iPad 90 degrees and you enter landscape orientation, where the keyboard takes up nearly half the screen and the keys become much larger. The keyboard layouts are exactly the same, regardless of the iPad's orientation. We're in the Notes app and we have a note open that has some text in it, and we'll use that to see what the keys do. Remember, tap anywhere in the note to bring up the keyboard, tap on the Hide Keyboard key to close it. By default, you see the QWERTY keyboard, the one with letters and little punctuation on it. Tap the !123 key and you see a keyboard that contains numbers as well as punctuation and a couple of common symbols such as the $ and ampersand. Tap the #+= key and you'll see a collection of less common symbols. To return to the QWERTY keyboard, just tap the ABC key. Now let's look at a couple of features on the QWERTY keyboard. For capital letters, the upward pointing key is the Shift key. At the beginning of a sentence, if you have this option turned on in settings, it's active by default, and you can tell it is by its blue outline. When it's in this state, tap a key and the first letter will be capitalized. If it's not active, you're in the middle of a sentence for example, just tap it to invoke it for one keystroke. So again, tap it. You see the blue symbol, and that indicates that the Shift key is on. Tap again and then the Shift key turns off. When you double tap the Shift key, you switch on the iPad's Caps Lock feature, where everything you type will be in capital letters until you tap the key again to switch off Caps Lock. Turn it off by tapping the Shift key once. To easily insert a full stop at the end of a sentence, just double tap the space bar. So type this sentence: "Hello, my name is Tom." To delete, the left pointing black key with the X in the middle of it is the Delete key. Tap it to delete the character to the left of the cursor, or if there's no character there, it'll jump back a space or a line. If you tap and hold on it, it will first delete individual characters, but as you continue to hold, it will delete words. So I can tap and hold, and now we're jumping backwards. The Return key, as I've shown before, just what it does on your computer keyboard. It moves the cursor down a line. For non-English languages, if you need to create letters that require marks used in non-English languages, and that would be an umlaut or an accent for example, you can do so simply by tapping and holding on a letter over which you wish the mark to appear. For example, tap and hold on the letter O and you see a number of options you can choose. Slide your finger to the character you want. So I'm going to add an umlaut. I choose that symbol, let go, and there we have an O with an umlaut over it. To get an acute accent for a French word, type CAF, hold down the letter E to get the acute accent and select it. The apostrophe key. You needn't move onto the number keyboard to get to that key. Just tap and hold on the comma key and flick upwards. Type the word can't, C-A-N, flick up on the comma key to get the apostrophe, then the T. Double click the space bar to get the full stop. For quotation marks, on the full stop key, flick up and you've got a quote. So type "hello there," flick up on the full stop key, close the quote, and that's finished. If you'd rather not flick, you can tap and hold on the comma key. You then have the option to insert the apostrophe, and it's the same idea with the full stop key. Tap and hold. There's your quotes, and you can add them that way as well. You won't see the same keyboard layout in every application. For example, in those applications where you will type an email and web address, the keyboard is modified to make entering that information easier. Let's illustrate that concept with the Contacts app. Launch Contacts and then press the plus button to create a new contact. When you tap in the first, last or company fields, you'll continue to see the normal QWERTY keyboard. But if you tap in the phone field, you move to the number keyboard. Tap in the email field. You see some changes at the bottom of the keyboard. The @ and full stop keys appear, and below you see the underscore and dash keys. The @ symbol is helpful for creating email addresses, of course, but check out the full stop key. If you tap and hold on it, you see that you have the option to enter .edu, .us, .net, .com or .org. Now if you tap and hold the dash key, you see that you have a bullet, a dash or an M dash character, which is something that you might use in an email address. Now let's tap on the home page field. The keyboard changes yet again, including colon, slash, underscore, dash and .com. Pretty much all the symbols you need when entering a web address. Tap and hold on the full stop key and you find the option to add an ellipsis. The iPad has a feature called Predictive Typing built in. What this means is that the iPad, like the iPhone and the iPod Touch, makes its best guess as to what you mean to type rather than what you did type. This makes typing on a virtual keyboard much more accurate. But in order for it to work, when typing, you must keep going, even though you make mistakes. If you make quick corrections every time you make a mistake on your iPad, you'll find working with it frustrating. However, keep going, and there is a very good chance that the iPad will correct your mistakes for you. Predictive typing is particularly helpful for typing contractions. Although can't is a real word, if you type it on your iPad, as I'll do now, the iPad will automatically add an apostrophe between the N and the T. Just tap space and it fills it in correctly. But what if the iPad makes a suggestion that you don't want? For example, when you type it's, the iPad invariably suggests IT''S by default. When it offers a suggestion, the suggestion appears in a bubble near the cursor. To reject that suggestion, just tap it. To accept it, tap the space bar and the iPad will automatically insert the suggestion. To turn off autocorrection if it bugs you, turn it off in the Settings General Keyboard options. Cut, copy and paste. Back to the Notes app. Entering text with a keyboard is most of the battle, but to get the full picture you also need to know how to select, cut, copy and paste. The Notes app can help us with this too. Let's create a new note by tapping the plus button and type I love my cat, Lovey. When I tap hold and place the cursor before the word cat and release, a bubble appears that contains the word select, select all. And if there's something stored in the iPad's clipboard, which is an invisible area that contains items you've copied or cut, you will also see a paste command. In this case there's nothing in the clipboard, so paste doesn't appear. When I tap select, the word cat is selected and 3 new commands appear: cut, copy and replace. Again, if there was something in the clipboard we would also see paste. Cut removes a selected item and places it in the clipboard, while copy leaves the item where it is but places a copy in the clipboard. Tap copy to copy the cat into the clipboard. Tap return twice to move further down the page. Tap and hold and we see select or select all, and this time paste. Tap paste and the word cat appears at the insertion point. Now let's look at select all. If I tap and hold on cat and tap select all, everything on the page is selected. Those blue dots at the beginning and end of the selection are handles that allow me to adjust the selection. I can tap and drag on the end handle and bring it up to the end of the sentence to shorten the selection. I can also shorten the selection even more by dragging the front handle so that just the words my cat Lovey are selected. Regardless of what I selected, the cut, copy and in this case paste options appear again. I can also replace a selected word with a word that has a similar spelling. For example, if I tap and hold on the word love and then tap select, I have the option to suggest. Tap suggest and there are 3 words that I could substitute: live, love and lobe. Tap on a blank area to ignore those suggestions. Just as with your computer, any item that you've cut or copied remains in the clipboard until you replace it with a different item. This means that you can copy text or graphics in one application and paste it into a different application. You can also copy graphics files. Launch Safari to see how this works. Open a page, in this case it's apple.com. Tap on the graphic, and I can copy that by tapping and holding on it, and then I have several options. One is to save the image and the other one is copy. Right now we're going to choose copy. To paste this image, open an application like Mail, start a new message and paste. Return to Safari. The same apple.com page. Tap and hold on the graphic again, and this time save image. Where did the image go? Go back to the home screen, go to Photos, select Albums and look at the camera roll, and there is the image. At this point you can then copy it again and put it into any document you like that supports graphics files. These are the basics of text entry and select, cut, copy and paste. You will find that these techniques work throughout many Apple and third-party applications. Finally, to change the keyboard settings, and some of these settings you might not like or you might think are annoying, so it's your choice. Here's how you turn them on or off. Go to Settings, General, Keyboard, and there are 5 options. Auto capitalization automatically inserts a capital letter at the beginning of a sentence. If you turn that off, then you'll have to always put the capital letter in yourself holding down the Shift key. Auto correction provides suggestions when you incorrectly type something. To accept the suggestion, you press the space bar. If that annoys you, and hell it annoys me, turn it off. Check spelling. Replaces misspelled words for you automatically, and that's often useful. Enable caps lock. When you double tap the Shift key, this turns on capital letters, and it's good for if you have a heading, for example. If you don't want to do that, disable it. The shortcut with the full stop allows you to press the space bar to automatically place a full stop at the end of a sentence. Extremely useful.